Brought to you by PlayStation Store. Access to the ultimate in games and entertainment.
Hello and welcome back to The Lobby. I'm your host, Daniel Dwyer, joined as ever by Mr. Christopher Waters. And today we are very happy to be joined by a man who has more names on boxes than both Tom Clancy and even American McGee. It's Mr. Sid Meier. Hi there. Hello, sir.
Great to be here.
Thank you so much. You're in town for GDC. We're going rolling it back in time here today on The Lobby. I'm guessing this isn't your first game developers conference.
I've been to a number of game developer conferences, actually back to the old days when I think there may be 50 of us. So things have come a long way.
Was that just in somebody's like backyard?
It was in San Jose in a hotel. I remember there were free cookies. Like every afternoon there'd be free cookies. I hope they kept that tradition, but that was really the reason we came.
What's your main impetus to be here at the moment? Because the GDC, like we see it from the press side, like you've come here today and done a demo of Starships, and you know we see various aspects of it. But there's so much actually happening at GDC between business and talks. What's your main impetus to be here?
We're here primarily to talk about Starships, our new game, which is coming out soon. Play it, kind of give people a little more insight into it. We've been able to do a few live streams to kind of cover the basics, but today we're talking about some of the more detailed aspects of it, the strategy, the story behind it, things like that.
Chris, you've covered a bunch of Sid's games between all the Beyond Earth stuff last year and Starships as well. You hosted the PAX South panel as well.
Oh yeah.
That the guys put on. Today, with the demo will be live on the site for anyone to watch. There's a GameSpot now playing of Starships. Well, what is your feel of Starships since you've had a bit more time with it?
This demo was actually interesting because Sid totally got like butt kicked on one of the missions.
That was great. Yeah, I like that. I was watching in the bag.
But you know, like so many times when you're showing off a game that's meant to be complex and have this sort of difficulty ceilings, you don't want to. You want to see the systems and show that stuff off. But in our past coverage, it sort of has been that overview. But this definitely like seeing sort of where you're going to run into those strategic difficulties that then force you to be more creative, that then force you to maybe specialize in one way, to maybe take it to like really lean into a specific strategy. That's sort of the stage when demos reach that is always to me a little bit more engaging because you get to like see a little bit more of the beating heart of the game.
What's it like been working on it? Obviously, it's not the sort of the grand, like insane amount of different mechanisms like the Civilizations games. It's a bit more refined a project. What's it like been working on Starships?
It's been a lot of fun, but can I say I did not get my butt kicked. It was incredible AI.
Yes.
I have to say the AI was awesome on that particular mission.
That's true.
So you kicked your own butt in a sort of roundabout way.
Exactly. But it's been a lot of fun. I mean, Starships, the whole science fiction genre has been something I haven't worked on yet, but it's always been part of my childhood, something I always wanted to try. And to be able to do it in conjunction with this cool story from Beyond Earth, when humanity going into the future and traveling throughout the galaxy, being able to use a new engine that we developed for this that really does some really neat special effects in terms of the way weapons look, the way cities will be lighted on the dark side of the planet and then kind of turn to darker cities on the light. There's some cool special effects that really kind of, I think, bring out the science fiction nature. I know the artists were just slathering, when they said, "Oh, we're going to do a science fiction game," they said, "Oh, cool." I think that's the dream of artists, and they were able to kind of really do some cool stuff. So it was a very fun project to work on.
Will Miller and David McDonough were the leads on Beyond Earth. It's interesting to say, like, you haven't really had hands-on on a sort of a science fiction game yourself. How does that work? Because obviously games with your name on it, and obviously like Firaxis being your baby, essentially, like, what is your involvement in all of the games that have the Sid Meier name on it?
Different levels of involvement. Starships is a game that I designed and programmed a lot of the AI and the rules. And a game like Beyond Earth, it's based on the Civilization system, but Will and Dave were the designers. We turned them loose, and basically you can't kind of partly design. You've got to kind of turn your baby over to somebody else and let them really express themselves, and that's what they did with Beyond Earth.
And what was that process like? You're handing it over to two incredibly talented, lovely guys. We've had them on the show before. Incredibly talented, but quite young as well. I was actually surprised by because it seems like quite a complex sort of game to have to make. So, what was it like working with them?
It was great. Civilization seems to kind of grab certain people. Even though they're young. They probably spend a good part of their lives growing up with Civilization and have an insight into kind of what makes it work that allowed them to build on that and create Beyond Earth.
What do you think it is about strategy games that they're so enduring? Because there's so many genres, Chris, we see like come and go over the years. Lots of them evolve. Some of them just plain disappear from sight. But strategy games, I feel like one of the first games I ever played, granted it was real time, but like Dune on old PC, like strategy seems to have just like the idea of like isometrically working on things. It's largely similar to what it was like now in 2015 as it was when I was growing up. What do you think about it that it's so enduring?
I mean, I think that these kind of games, like what do you want from a game experience? Do you want, there's a puzzle game, there's a puzzling aspect to a strategy, but it's not just, where does this piece go? How do I get these things to match? It's a grander, sort of longer form thing. And so for me, a game like Civ, that kind of strategy thing is absorbing, and it allows me to take on a challenge, to take on a problem, and to solve a problem in a creative way. And depending on your job or where you work or whatever, you can get some of that in your life, but rarely can the sort of parameters be so imagination inspiring. Can they be tweaked just so that the problems I encounter are different every time I play Civ, but there's still a mind behind it that has set up systems that's going to be very generative for those kind of problems and be, in a way, evergreen because of the sheer variety of ways that those systems can intertwine. And I think those intertwining systems is really the magic.
Yeah, has much changed in terms of designing strategy games? Because they always felt like a sort of an extension of chess almost in a way, but they've extended far beyond that now in 2015.
The irony is when we first created the original Civilization, strategy was actually a dirty word as far as
really?
Computer games. They were associated with boring and slow moving, and we actually wanted to use hexes in the original Civ, but it was like, no, people that'll relate to like war games, which is only hardcore geeks play.
Yeah.
So we made we use squares. Finally, recently it's become safe to use hexes again, but Civ kind of made the world safe for strategy, in terms of computer games, and those core ideas that were introduced there seem to have this longevity that's been amazing. The kind of one more turn aspect, the ability to kind of project with your imagination and what's going to happen next. I mean, that's the magic of turn-based, is that you have the time to imagine what's going to happen if I do this, what's going to happen if I do that. And it kind of created almost this idea that I've got to play that turn and play that turn and see what I imagined is actually going to happen.
That's
actually going to come true.
So there's more intention in your move because you're thinking about what's going to happen, but also it's almost like there are different realities that are happening, much like in life when you decide to go somewhere to live or work, and you could have chosen B or C, and then your imagination sort of, it's almost like when you're playing strategy games, you're playing thousands of games, but you've only gone down one sort of route.
So you got to play again
to
try that other path and see what happens.
You've obviously been creating strategy games for many years now. What is it about Starships? Is there anything like new that you've done in this that you weren't able to do maybe with Civilization, with the sort of expectancy that there is with a sort of an audience that already exists? Yeah,
there's some new systems. The Starship customizing system gives you so many possibilities. There's a neat crew fatigue system that kind of gives you this interesting risk reward in terms of how long you want to push your crew on the mission before you give them some shore leave. The variety of missions, I think, is one of the things I'm very proud of, that you can play mission after mission after mission, and they'll each be different. And that's really what keeps you going, keeps the game really fresh, even though you can play for hours and hours and hours.
You've got quite a murderer's row of design talent now at Firaxis as well, between Will and Dave, at the XCOM team as well, working on great stuff.
Jake,
Jake Solomon. What's left? What's next for Firaxis in 2015 once Starships is out there?
Well, we're working on some cool new stuff. Can't quite talk about it yet, but I appreciate that. We do have some great designers at Firaxis. Takes the load off me, and I get to play some great games, so it's wonderful.
When is Starships out, and on what systems? When can people play it?
Starships is out on March 12th. Be available on the PC, Steam, Macintosh, and on iPad.
Excellent. So it's over a week away for us, but by the time this goes out, it'll be mere days away.
Yeah.
Damn you, future me. Thank you so much, Sid, for coming on. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of GDC. Are you going to PAX at all?
Not this year.
Okay, so by the time this goes out, you won't have been snowed into the Arctic tundra of Boston. So at least there's that. We'll be back in a second with more Lobby. Stay tuned.